sometimes talking isn't enough. I'm joined by Moya, who runs Yoma Therapies, and she specializes in Reiki, meditation, and holistic therapies that focus on reconnecting the mind and the body. So we hear the phrase a lot, trauma lives in the body, and that's specifically a book that I've read, The Body Keeps the Score, which I'm sure most people have read or know about. I've never felt anything quite like it, and ever since then I've been really interested in it.
Meditation is the last thing that they think is ever possible or beneficial. Why would just sitting there in the state of calm, how would that help me? Some days we're here as a student, other days we're here as the teacher. Don't overcomplicate it. Think for a moment where maybe you've just found yourself gazing out the window, that it's okay and it's doable. And it's a practice. Meditation is a practice. Reiki is a practice. Life is a practice. So what I would suggest is, if you're seated, to just try and have an upright posture, because slouching into a soft chair is not always conducive. You might just start to feel sleepy. And as I say, just trust, and if you find you're being called to try something, explore it.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Be Brave Project podcast. Today's episode is a little bit different, but really important. We talk a lot on this podcast about trauma, about what we've been through and how it affects us. But today we're talking about healing in a different way, because sometimes talking isn't enough. I'm joined by Moya, who runs Yoma Therapies, and she specializes in Reiki, meditation, and holistic therapies that focus on reconnecting the mind and the body. We're going to talk about how trauma lives in the body, why traditional routes don't always work for everyone, and we're even going to try a little bit of this live, which I'm slightly nervous about, but also very excited. Moya, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you, Chloe. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining. I'm really excited about this. So if you don't mind, let's start with you. Tell me a little bit about your journey and how you got into this work.
It's hard to do in a nutshell, but I will give it a go. It was back in 2009. In my workplace, I was stopped in the hallway by a colleague, and she was explaining what she was going to be doing as a side business, and said, "Oh, we're going to be learning this Reiki. I don't know what it's called, but we need a fourth person. You're into that kind of weird stuff, aren't you? Will you join?" And I just said yes, not knowing what I'd signed up for. And that was the beginning of when Reiki found me. And the journey since then, I had no idea. I don't think I'd heard about it before then. And when I came back from that level 1 training day, I just felt like something magical had happened. I couldn't put my finger on it. I really didn't know what I had learned that day or what it was about, but something felt different. And then I pursued it to learning level 2. Then I went on for the 3rd degree master training. And ironically, the other 3 women, I don't think they've ever used it. And I'm really aware of when I've heard that Reiki finds you, the truth in that. And when I unexpectedly left Canada in 2013, I remember feeling really disappointed that I had been involved in Reiki so much. And now I felt drawn to move to a country where I had met these 4 people back in 76. My Reiki, what will I do with it? Who will I share it with? I don't know anybody. And that's a story in itself of coming here. But I link it to Reiki and that feeling of not just empowerment, but aware and taking opportunities that maybe I wouldn't if Reiki hadn't have exposed me to finding that.
Wow, that's lovely. Thank you for sharing that. I think with Reiki, a lot of people have heard about it or have heard the word, but don't fully understand it. And I'm not going to lie, I was one of those people only until back, I'm going to say 2024, when I stood up and did my first speech about what happened to me. And I had a lovely lady that works for the NSPCC. She was there supporting me, and she did a little bit on me before I got up and spoke. And I wouldn't say I'm not spiritual, but I've also not necessarily tapped into it. So I'm just in the middle. And she said, "Do you want me to try?" And I said, "Yeah, you know what? Let's give it a go." I've never felt anything quite like it. And ever since then, I've been really interested in it. So if you don't mind, can you maybe explain what Reiki actually is for people that don't know about it?
I'll do my best. I will do my best, because Reiki is really, it's working with energy that exists. So in some form, we've all experienced an energy shift or an experience with it. But Reiki per se is, if you break down the word Reiki, it's a Japanese word. Rei referring to kind of the spiritual, the intellect, that knowing that is already in the ether or air, and ki being the life force. That prana might be another word that somebody's heard. So bring it all together, and it's really working with the universal life force energy. And within our energetic body, we have 7 main chakras. Might be another word that people have heard of, but don't really know what they are. Chakra is Sanskrit for wheel. And the 7 main ones, just to go over them briefly. So you'd have from the root all the way up to the crown, the third eye, the heart, and through the torso. And these energetic wheels will draw in this prana, this energy, this life force energy. And if you hear people saying, "Oh, I'm not balanced," or "I need my chakras aligned, I'm out of balance," that sums up how some days we can feel really good all together. I've got this, and other days it's like, I don't know what's wrong with me, but I just feel so disconnected and so out of sorts. And often there is a depletion of this prana within us. So experiencing a Reiki session, the practitioner becomes like a conduit who draws this Reiki energy through them, and the recipient will then take it, will draw it into them. So after a Reiki session, it's when you can feel various things that I'm sure we'll get into. We talk, but does that help you understand a little bit about Reiki?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, from when I didn't know much about it in 2024, and then I did a little bit of research, and I have had that in my life in random. I've heard people saying the third eye, and I don't feel connected, and I don't feel aligned and stuff. So, yeah, I think I find it really fascinating because, like I said, I'm not necessarily really spiritual, but I'm also not. So but I feel like I'm starting to get more interested in it and feel like I'm getting more connected to it. I don't know whether that is because I am on my healing journey and I'm feeling I'm at the place now where I'm wanting to take a lot more in and try and figure myself out. So I find it really interesting, and I would love actually to come and see you in person and to do it properly, because I think it would be really interesting. So you've obviously done a lot of training and you've been doing it for a while. So was there a moment that you thought when you were learning about Reiki that you suddenly thought, wow, this really works?
The first one that comes to mind was when I did my level 2. So I've explained level 1 at the end, thinking, oh my gosh, I don't know what that was, that I feel it was almost euphoric. I can't put it into words. I just never experienced such a feeling of peace. After my level 2, and I did that with not the same 3 ladies, it was just with another lady that I didn't know. So it was a completely different experience. And when I got home, I was aware, thinking, this isn't as euphoric as it was before. But as I started to think about the symbols, because there's symbols connected with Reiki, instead of having to rub my hands to create a sensation, which is what I was taught to do in level 1. So I would think of a symbol, rub my hand, and then I would get that tingle and think, okay, now my hands are working. And then when I came back from level 2, I just remember thinking about the symbols, but I hadn't rubbed my hands. But It doesn't sound like a big deal, but in that moment, when my hands started to activate, I just had this aha moment of, oh, what's happening? And just this beautiful kind of tingle in that moment of feeling connected. And that, in a very simplistic yet complicated way, sealed it for me. And I think that just pulled me in. And the things that I've experienced during have been just as powerful as things that I can now link back to
Yeah.
connect it to Reiki, but not having been able to give it a name,
Yeah.
which I think is really powerful. And what you've described, becoming more interested, because there'll be different components that you think, oh, I've experienced something like that, but I wouldn't have called it Reiki. But that knowing
Yeah.
becomes a bit more tangible.
Yeah. Definitely. I think that one moment where the lady from the NSPCC did it on me when because I was so nervous because it was the first time I actually was going to stand up in front of a lot of people, but also first time I was going to share my story. And I didn't know what to expect. And so I was just open to it because I thought, okay, let's just try anything. Let's try anything because I'm very nervous. I've never felt anything like it. It was the anxiety that I have and had at the time, and I still do now, where it's here and you can't breathe. And then most people that are listening to this podcast will have had trauma or just in general that experience anxiety, know that feeling. And for it to just suddenly go, it was the weirdest feeling, but I felt so energized and I think in a way at peace. And I went in that room and I stood there and I thought, I don't know if I would have actually probably would have been able to have done it, but maybe not as calm and collected. And yeah, it was the most incredible feeling. And I don't know how else I can describe it really. It's it was a great feeling. It felt really nice and calming.
Beautiful.
And I was in myself, if that makes any sense. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but yeah, I find it really interesting. Going on, I think we talk about trauma on this podcast a lot, and most people that I have spoken to, we're talking about child abuse and child sexual abuse specifically, and how that can live in the body. So we hear the phrase a lot, trauma lives in the body, and specifically a book that I've read, The Body Keeps the Score, which I'm sure most people have read or know about. So what does that actually mean, do you think?
I think that's something that we can all accept is fact, even if we can't imagine how. So, through the teachings of Reiki, when questions similar to that have been asked, I find if I say to you, just even think of any memory or a time where even insignificant memory just pops up. Maybe it's a scent, you smell something and it takes you back because it's one of our most powerful links to memory. And think, where did that come from? I don't know. But that's our answer of things reside with us. So did that just stay in our thought outside of the body? But then if you take that and you turn it to moments where you can feel the breath changing or you feel the tummy tightening, that's linked to a thought. Sometimes people say, oh yeah, of course I've experienced that. I get nervous or excited and I can feel myself tense up. Those are moments that we're aware of. But every experience we have, the subconscious is holding on to that, but it also resides within, deep down into our tissues. So the tissues are the thickest layer of these energetic bodies that Reiki is really working on. So if you think of us, I love the analogy of thinking of us as an onion, for example, layers, many layers. If you were to peel an onion, you wouldn't know how many layers. So if you were to come for a Reiki session, you just don't know how many layers can be peeled away at that given time. So your beautiful example of when you received Reiki and it helped you and it brought you to that place of calm, of stillness, of peace, that's a beautiful moment. And if that were to have happened again the next day, you would have had a completely different experience. So I think to come into something open, knowing that we are holding on to things, to experiences, to thoughts, memories, they do reside within. And where Reiki can help is by bringing you to a place of when you need to feel safe, relaxed, open. And that energy shift can start to peel away what the body is ready to let go of.
Mm-hmm.
And really, we don't know in that moment what it could be. And it's irrelevant. You just know that after the experience, there's often a sense of lightness in some form.
Mm-hmm.
And when you can dip your toe into that and experience it once and then again and again, you start to think, oh, there's that little bit of magic of I don't know what's happening. And really, at the end of the day, do I need to be able to explain it?
Yeah.
Because if it is creating a positive feeling of comfort and empowerment, I think that is a word that I find more and more is an effect of
Yeah.
Reiki.
I think that's exactly what you just said. You don't have to explain the feeling. If it makes you feel good and you feel that there's some change, then it doesn't matter if you can explain it to someone. So I think going back to what I experienced, I can't explain it, but that's okay. I don't have to explain it. I know that my body changed and I changed.
Mm.
Whatever she was doing, because I had to close my eyes, and whatever she was doing, it worked and I felt great. Yeah, I think like I said, I definitely would. I really want to try it again, and I would advise anyone if they're interested to try spiritual therapies like Reiki, because it was great. It did make me feel lovely.
Absolutely. And on that note, I think to not set expectations, because that is another big component, a positive outcome. I think you don't want to think about it being, oh my gosh, I've heard about this. Now I'm going to go and I'm going to have this miraculous,
Yeah,
oh, here I am feeling all Zen-like.
yeah,
But if it really resonates, then definitely explore and go in with an open mind and know that at some point or at some sessions, it might feel nothing more than deeply relaxing. Others, several layers can open and floodgates can open and have a real emotional session, which is a very positive release.
hmm
We can cry, we giggle, anything that just the body wants to shake itself up and let go of things. A
I think
Reiki
that's
session.
yeah, and I think that's really important as well, because not every you might go to any therapy really. You're not always going to have a therapy session where you're going to come away thinking, oh, you might go to an hour therapy and think, oh, I don't feel any different. I know sometimes I can have therapy sessions where I just talk about random stuff and I come away thinking I don't really feel any different. And then sometimes I can have a therapy session where I think, oh God, I've hit the nail on the head, or I've processed something. So yeah, I've definitely felt disconnected from my body at times. And we talk about our nervous system a lot, specifically in trauma. So what actually is happening in our nervous system after trauma, and how can Reiki help with that?
Okay, so well, the nervous system is a key component to keeping us safe. Right? So the body's always wanting to keep us safe. Trauma happens, the nervous system will come into our fight or flight mode, which elevates hormones, all kinds of things happen internally, which has a ripple effect to other systems. So even if there's a bit of let's just say a paralysis, oh my gosh, this has happened. And that leaves lasting effects. And the subconscious is almost like the one recording what happened. Our subconscious mind is making note of everything, but then the conscious mind then becomes busy trying to rationalize,
Mm-hmm.
trying to make heads or tails of what just happened. So we may think on a conscious level we've dealt with it, but in that moment, the nervous system, along with the subconscious, has kept a really not necessarily accurate, but the memory of it. And again, that gets stored. So what we were talking about earlier about how the body will hold on, and dipping into therapies such as Reiki hypnotherapy, massage, yoga, the talking therapies, anytime that we can affect the breath, meditation, mindfulness. And there is such a connection between mindfulness and Reiki, where you could make a real equal list of using terminology that someone that sees mindfulness as not a spiritual type thing as Reiki, a lot of crossover. So back to the nervous system, our breath is the trigger for that. So if we're tense, afraid, our breathing changes, it shallows, it creates this tension. But through a moment of feeling safe and taking hold of our thoughts, controlling the mind and what we're thinking in that moment, the breath then will be naturally able to slow down, to regulate, to become a little bit deeper. That then signals to the nervous system, oh, we're safe. We can go into the other division. So we can come out of the sympathetic, our fight or flight, and we can now go into the parasympathetic, rest and digest, as some people might know it. But that just changes how we function. So when the nervous system is in its calm state, hormones can rebalance itself. So if we go back to working electrochemically, the hormone system, the nervous system, they speak to each other. So if the nervous system is in threat, then it will ask the hormone system, to the endocrine, to pump out more adrenaline, more cortisol, all those things to just give us the power we need to get away. So during a Reiki session, we are bringing the physical body and the energetic body to a moment of calm, of stillness. The breath then will naturally support this feeling. We can offer Reiki where the recipient can draw this universal life force energy to top up where it's been depleted through fear, panic, exhaustion of just trying to maintain some form of stability mentally, physically, emotionally. And a lot is really going on. And that's why each experience will always be different, because we are in a different place at any given moment, which can be hard to, I think, to believe and to remember at times of trauma and fear, that feeling this way won't last. And so the more tools that we can gather to shift out of that, I think that's where Reiki and other therapies can be so helpful.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's really interesting about the nervous system and the hormones, because it's something that I've only just really, I'm learning about a lot of things recently, because I've only started in the last sort of 18 months. So when I said 2024, when I did my first speech, where I've really started on my healing journey, and I'm learning about a lot of things, and cortisol and adrenaline being those two hormones that I've suddenly gone, oh, it all makes so much sense. Because when you're stressed, you have all different kinds of trauma, and you're constantly in fight flight, which I am a lot of the time, is pumping those hormones constantly. So then that you get the weight gain, and you get a puffy face here in the arms, and it all just makes sense. And I've gone, oh, okay. So because I was thinking, why am I not? I'm not saying that I'm overweight at all, but I have put on weight, and I'm thinking, why? I'm not eating. I don't eat because I'm always stressed. So I don't eat and I'm anxious, but then I'm putting on weight, and then it's like a massive connect. So when you start to come out of that and you're calming your nervous system, everything kind of balances. So it really is interesting. It does make so much sense. To go on to meditation as well, 'cause I know that you do a lot of that. So I think naturally people say meditate is slow down, be present, but that's not always easy. And I've definitely tried to meditation, and I do find it quite difficult. My brain is always on overdrive. I always say that I've got about 100 tabs open at once. I find it very hard to just focus on one thing. So my question would be for you, why can meditation actually feel really uncomfortable or even unsafe for people with trauma? Because that is definitely how I feel when I do it. I've never been able to do it. So yeah, I find that really interesting.
And I've heard that
Mm.
comment over and over again. And I think what it comes down to is, and I find this even with people that come for massage. So not Reiki, but a different type of therapy. And they just want to talk and talk. And through getting to know these clients, it's all, that's the way I relax.
Yeah.
And then I can transfer that to the same comments when people have come to meditate and say, oh, no good, but I thought I'd come and give it a try.
Mm-hmm.
When our mind is so full, to anyone listening to this, would it be true if I said to you, does it feel more safe to think that having all these thoughts in your head, it's a comfort? It's
Yeah.
become familiar, it's comfortable. And please don't make my thoughts go quiet, because then I don't know what's going to come up. And if I can't control what's going to come up, I don't want to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think no matter the amount of trauma that we're aware of, for a lot of people where they've created this protective ability, whether it comes through keeping the mind busy, behavior changes, becoming more aggressive, more just a different personality, the addictions, like everything to create a safety that we feel we're in control of.
Yeah.
Meditation is the last thing that they think is ever possible or beneficial. Why would just sitting there in the state of calm, how would that help me? Because you come so far to the other extreme. But I've witnessed through so many beautiful opportunities, people learning that in a very gradual time frame and safe environment, that it's okay and it's doable. And it's a practice. Meditation is a practice. Reiki is a practice. Life is a practice.
True, we're all just learning, aren't we?
We really are.
Yeah.
And some days we're here as a student, other days we're here as the teacher.
Oh, I love that. That's a lovely say. I love that. Yeah, 100%. Because that, I love that. I'm gonna use that if you don't mind.
Oh, I loved it. It stayed with me since I heard it years ago, because I think
love
that
that.
sums up. You walk away from even an encounter with a stranger or
Mm,
something you did, and you get something from it, or the other person has been able to say, oh my gosh, thank you. I never looked at it that way.
yeah,
It's always a give and take.
I love that. I'm definitely going to use that because I always say to my daughter, I'm still learning, and she says, "Yeah, but you're a mummy," and I said, "Yeah, but I've never done this before, B. This is my first time as well." And she said, "Oh, yeah, but you." She just sees me as this teacher. I should know everything. I really don't. So I'm gonna say that to her. Some days I'm the teacher, some days I'm the student. I love that.
And that's a little bit more empowerment for you when you
Yeah,
see it as both ways.
absolutely.
To anyone that's, I have something to give.
Yeah,
And
yeah. I have something to give, but I also it's okay to learn as well and be open to that. I think. I mean, like I've said, I find meditation very difficult, but it's something that I think, and I've been told before that you have to keep at it, and it's a learned thing as well. You can't just expect to lay down, listen to some calm music, and be okay and meditate. It's a practice, and it takes people a very long time to get there. I think in terms of what you were saying about, I think there's an element of me being scared because I have done meditation and I don't like that feeling. I do feel very uncomfortable because I do start thinking about things that I don't want to think about and I've pushed to the back of my brain, but probably should bring up and process. So I do understand why a lot of people that have experienced complex trauma like child sexual abuse, why they don't want to listen to some calm music. But I think there is a real benefit to it. So I'm going to give myself a bit of a list and a to-do list, and I'm going to try and do some meditation and see how it goes. Do you actually do meditation with people? Do you teach people how to do meditation? Do they come to you and you?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And just something I'd like to share with you when you are going to incorporate some meditation.
Mm-hmm.
Don't overcomplicate it. Think of a moment where maybe you've just found yourself gazing out the window.
Okay.
That's meditation. You have taken a moment to just focus on whether it be the sunshine, birds, the sky, what's going on out there. That is a form of meditation. So it doesn't have to be an official, I need to sit down on my cushion, I need to get into cross-legged and have some kind of hand mudra. It doesn't have to be all that. You can just sit and take a few moments. There's so many ways to just gradually find comfort with it, just focusing on the breath.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be long periods. The longer, the better. But there's no point in sitting down, torturing yourself for 20 minutes and
No.
going, oh, when's it over? When's it going to be over? You just need moment by moment. And again, that's where mindfulness comes in, being present in the moment.
Okay. I'm going to try that. I might go and sit outside. It's a beautiful day today, so I might go and sit outside and just listen to the birds and then class that as meditation. Because I think a lot of people do think, oh, meditation is sitting down with your arms, your legs crossed and closing your eyes and humming.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so not. So yeah, thank you for that reminder, because I definitely think I see it like that as well. And I think you put a lot of pressure on yourself. I do anyway. So do you think, I've put here the guided moment where you could do something. Will it work over this, or is it something that we would need to do being together?
You can certainly do distance Reiki. I could
Okay.
certainly do that. I just don't know. We've already acknowledged that you don't want to have an expectation.
Yes. Yeah.
But under these circumstances in particular, I really don't know what you would expect.
Okay.
This time, I'm willing to do that. Or if doing something a bit equal of just taking you to a moment of calm, what you experience is maybe something then that anyone else listening could also.
Yeah. I think
take
that would
advantage
be,
of.
yeah, I think if you could guide me and people listening through something, it's simple, really, just something like grounding, maybe, that people can try at home whilst listening to this. If we could try it, and yeah, and making sure that I've got no expectations and people listening, no expectations, but just to see if we can calm ourselves. And yeah, if you don't
Of
mind,
course,
we
just
can
notice
try.
what happens in the moment, and maybe it
Yeah.
will be some Reiki energy that's coming through.
Yeah.
Maybe it will just be your own little moment.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I would suggest is, if you're seated, to just try and have an upright posture, because slouching into a soft chair is not always conducive. You might just start to feel sleepy. So sitting upright, legs uncrossed, it's all about just letting the energy in the body flow. If you're comfortable, close the eyes, draw them down, or keeping a soft gaze if that feels more comfortable and more safe for you. And without doing anything, just starting to notice the breath, just drawing the awareness to the breath. And are you feeling it in the body? Or can you be aware of the temperature as the breath comes in through the nose? And you can be breathing out through the nose or out through the mouth. But do breathe in through the nostrils. If you can, invite the shoulders to melt away from the ears. Just let that next exhale bring a sense of softness. The shoulders, the chest. And you might already be feeling the breath moving through the body a little bit more deeply. And if not, that's okay. Just let the breath flow wherever it needs to go. And if the mind wanders, which it will, absolutely expected. But can you draw it back and gently invite your awareness to come to the breath? And if that doesn't feel comfortable, be bring awareness to your hands as you breathe in. Maybe create a gentle fist. And as you exhale, imagine you're exhaling through the hand. And you breathe in through the palms of your hands, closing them up. Exhaling, opening the hand. Just find what's working for you right now. There's nothing that is not right. Just know that anything that you're doing right now, to be aware of where you are, even if it's just listening to my voice, that you're looking around. You might still find that moment of calm as you exhale. You might feel the body relax just a little bit, just a softness. Taking just maybe a deeper breath in before we come out of this short practice. And just notice if there's any shift, any difference, whether it's in your thoughts or physically. How was that for you, Chloe?
It was lovely.
Oh,
I felt very calm. I do doing breathing work, and I've done that quite a bit. And I definitely felt a lot more relaxed because I breathe up here quite a lot. And so I was really, it was lovely. Thank you.
good.
You've got a lovely voice as well. That helps.
Thank you.
Very calming, and I could listen to it all day. So that definitely helps. And I hope everyone that did that quick practice felt a lot calmer as well. So thank you. That was lovely. That was really lovely.
Pleasure.
So going back onto a bit of Reiki now, is it something that people can do themselves, or do you have to have someone doing it for you or with you?
Back to the symbols and the levels where I started about after taking my level 1. So there is a system that can be learned, let's say. Then you're given the tools, the symbols to do self-healing, which is what level 1 is all about. So that's for working on yourself, friends and family. Level 2 is to do with distant healing, and it's recognized then for working on the public. Then there's level 3 or master level, which is for sharing the teachings of Reiki. But without being trained in Reiki, just what we did, and sometimes just placing hands on a part of the body that feels like it needs that. Often we do that instinctively, don't we? Oh, my heart or my head, the hands go where they know healing is needed.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were to just sit with hands in a comfortable part of the body and just focus on that, you can release a little shift even without learning Reiki. So again, tying it in with mindfulness, meditation, moments of stillness, whatever you want to call it, but a real moment of, this comes through with inner child work and things of giving love, just that loving kindness moment, which is so powerful. And what we're talking about here, you don't have to go anywhere. It doesn't cost anything. And it's such a beautiful complement to any other therapies that you're doing and to any other investment you're making, time or money or other people. You can do yourself.
Do yourself. If people wanted to come and see you or see someone around their area that does Reiki, what would someone experience in a session specifically with you?
Sure. Things that should be discussed are, one, to know that you remain fully clothed, that permission for touch is required. Because although Reiki can be completely hands off, I know myself, I'm often guided to touch around the head or the shoulder, the arms, knees, feet. Otherwise, I'm just hovering over the body. I try to explain first what to expect. You might sense me here, sense me there, but just know at the end, I will guide you to open your eyes. There's not really much talking. ahead of time because I don't want to set any expectation.
Mm-hmm.
Remain quiet during the actual Reiki session. And then at the end, I allow time for them. Often when they come to, you're like, oh, that I don't know where I went, or I had these images. There's just things that they need to try and process.
Mm-hmm.
So I allow for more time for that. So although it's not a talking therapy, there should be time at the end to get things off, and it doesn't need to go into discussion. And if I pick up on things, then I will share. And sometimes that has been extremely powerful.
Yeah.
A lady that came, who was referred to me, there were two names that came to my mind during the session. And when I shared them with her, it was so significant. It even blew me away. And I've had enough of those experiences. I don't really often get blown away, but it just proved of being at the right place at the right time. Mm-hmm. She needed to hear these names. Mm-hmm. And I've since seen her a few times and still coming back, because I think that was her moment of, I'm not alone. And I actually gave her your podcast details because she's going through her journey of sexual abuse. And I think this was just such a powerful experience for her. The timing of me then having connected with you and saying, here is another outlet. And she was really grateful because she found that, I don't know where to turn. There are these things they refer you to, but to actually be able to hear other people's stories and not feel so alone. So that was a beautiful moment.
That was, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that with her, because that's the whole reason that I'm doing this, is so other people don't feel alone and they can hear other people talking. That's amazing. And I was going to ask you, actually, when you're doing Reiki, and you said it now, when two names came to you, do you ever, and I suppose that you were saying as well, sorry, you explained what you've found, if you found anything at the end of the session. What can you get? What do you get from it? Can you sense certain things?
It does happen. So I know at one point someone said to me, oh, do you do readings as well? And I was like, no, I think I And then I realized with the amount of things that would come through, it did sound like I was potentially a medium or psychic. But what's happening is, when I become solely focused in the moment, and like I explained, it's this prana, this universal energy that is being moved, say, through me. Think of me as the conduit. I'm just there. It's your energetic body that is drawing it in. As I work around the body, there's been moments where suddenly I'm feeling like it's a horrendous toothache. But then when I move away, yes, that's from that body. That's not me. So the different things that can be picked up at the end, when you say, oh, if you had any problems with your teeth, then I can think of one situation, although there were many, of, oh, yes, I'm going in for root canal. And it's, yes, I can feel it.
Wow.
So that just shows the connection of energy. Yeah. And how relevant it is. But it is all to do with the recipient. And just so maybe people can connect with that. I think we've all experienced a time when we've walked into a room and you've felt, oh, not sure what's happened here, but either something doesn't feel right, or it's, oh, I just want to go curl up over there and have a sleep. I think we can, to some degree, think I've experienced that. So just bring that into more of a focused session, and that energy is real. It's tangible.
Do you, in terms of you were saying that the recipient, like, if someone comes in, do they have to be, what am I trying to say? For instance, someone's a little bit skeptical about this work, because we know that there are people that aren't necessarily spiritual or a bit skeptical. Does that then make the reading harder for you, or do you need someone that's more open, or does that not really matter?
Okay, I think being open is key. I only think of one person that came to me that I knew was just skeptical, but because she trusted the person that said, oh, have you met Moya? And maybe this is something. And she came, I think, more of a, so I think that whole time I was so aware that she just had her eyes closed, but she was so alert. Well, what are you doing? Well, what's going on? And I'm thinking, I feel like I've got a wall between us.
Okay, yeah.
And you might be able, it's another protective thing, isn't it? Is that no one's getting in.
Mhm.
So that armor that we can create energetically, mentally, emotionally, we hold on to everything. At the end, she just sat up and said, "Oh, that was relaxing." She was very polite, very kind. But I thought, okay, at the very least, a seed was planted. And if there was a time of her life where things were different, she might think back to that and think, oh, I wonder now if I'm more open, what that could have done or how that could have helped me.
Yeah.
But if someone just comes and says, yeah, I trust, I've heard and I want to experience it, and I can get them to
Yeah.
feel safe and comfortable. Sometimes it takes half the session. So going down one side of the body, maybe, where I'm thinking, okay. And then by the time towards the end, it's like, oh, now they've really let me in.
You can
And
feel it.
that's where you can feel that
That's really
something is shifting.
I think it's like anything though as well, any kind of therapy, you've got to be willing and you've got to be ready, I suppose. It's like talking therapies as well. You have to be wanting to be present and willing to do it. You've got to take what you want away from it. So yeah.
Timing is everything.
Yeah.
And I think in those moments where maybe you've walked away going, oh, that's not for me. As long as it's not that you didn't click with the person, because sometimes, especially with a lot of trauma, I think triggers are that much more vast or heightened, where the sound of someone's voice, their look, a scent, that's triggering a connection to something from a traumatic time. It doesn't matter the rest of the environment, you may not get very far.
Yeah.
No, when something calls to you, take those little stepping stones until you find that right place, right person, where everything feels, whether it's a yoga class, a therapy session, anything. And that's where the magic will happen.
Yeah. I agree. I completely agree with that. I suppose it's coming to an end because it goes so quickly. And like I said, I could talk to you for ages about all of this. So I just want to ask a few more questions, if that's okay, in terms of Reiki and all the therapies that you do. Do you think there is one type of person that will benefit from this kind of work, or do you think it benefits, as long as you're open, kind of what we were going back to, it will work on anyone, or can this work specifically better for people that have had specific traumas or suffer with PTSD or?
With absolutely anything. And I think because there's so much that we can do ourselves, that exposure to Reiki might support then if meditation is a bit scary, if mindfulness seems overwhelming, but you've experienced that moment of stillness and calm where the nervous system can then again speak to the endocrine system, and those hormones stop pumping through the blood and we feel calm, and anyone will benefit. And we don't necessarily have to think that we've had major trauma to not need this top up of energy that gets depleted through life. Life is busy, it's high energy. It's very hard to find consistent calm and feeling safe and fulfilled. We're constantly exposed to things that keep, so should I be doing that? Should I like that? Should I be there? It's very hard. I had another really lovely example recently where a lady had been referred to me for massage. And that's what we did. And at the end, I just paused around her head because I could feel the busyness. And when I went to her third eye, and obviously Reiki started to flow, although I hadn't asked her for permission, and it was undeniable that it was just being drawn. And she was so emotional at the end because she said there was calm. I've never experienced that sense of calm. What did you do? And it's like, you had a massage, you got really relaxed, and you were just open to receiving.
Yeah.
And that has been a beautiful, real, very quick transition to her now booking for Reiki and not the massage. So you just never know where what you need at the moment is going to be. And as I say, just trust. And if you find you're being called to try something, explore it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, exploring is definitely the key word there. If you feel like you want to, try it. You were saying also have no expectations. It might not be the first time that you go for Reiki or meditation or a massage, but
yeah.
if you're wanting it and you're open to it, it will probably come. So really quick, if someone is listening and is curious about Reiki, where do they start? What should they do in order to potentially look for a practitioner or to start by themselves or wherever they want to go? What should they do? And are there any red flags that they should look out for?
I think recommendation is often the best. So if you just start asking people,
Okay.
have you ever experienced Reiki or any modality that they feel more comfortable with?
Mm-hmm.
And the reflex, because it's surprising how many reflexologists or massage therapists, hypnotherapists
Mm-hmm.
have a Reiki background. So maybe you'll soon find where you're meant to be. The red flags, I don't feel comfortable when I've heard that somebody had gone somewhere for Reiki, was told that it was a minimum of X amount of sessions and they needed to go on a set basis. I get that for other modalities, but I would just, and it would have their reasons for doing it. I'm not saying that's wrong, but because this is such a personal, energetic thing, I think if someone is saying, if you want to come back, should we just pencil you in?
Mm-hmm.
Let me know as it gets closer. If you don't need it, don't want it. And if you want to come back sooner, do. I think there should be a real open door that way.
Yeah.
I love go with the flow.
Yeah.
Again, to be supported with having eyes open if that's going to make you feel more comfortable, that touch is optional. You do remain fully clothed, like all of those things that would probably be more significant to someone that's coming from a sexually abused
Yeah.
trauma experience. That would be very relevant.
Yeah.
And yeah, but word of mouth recommendation.
Recommendation.
It's a great,
Okay.
great place
Thank
to start.
you. Thank you. What's one thing you'd want someone listening to take away from this episode today?
Oh, there is so much that we already possess to help ourselves. And it can be really overwhelming to think, where do I start? Who do I turn to? But just know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what I'm taking away from this is one, healing doesn't look one way. It's lots of different things. We all know that healing isn't linear as well. And that you're allowed to explore what feels right for you as well. So just if you're interested in it right now, then go for it. But if you're still not quite sure, then you don't have to. There's no limit. Since speaking to you today, and like I was saying before, I was very interested. Since speaking to you today, I'm even more interested. And I definitely want to come and see you personally and see what happens. No expectations. I'm going to try and come with an open mind, but I think I'm definitely ready to explore that spiritual area of healing. Yeah, Maria, thank you so much for coming on and sharing this. For me, it's been very eye-opening, and I feel very relaxed and very calm, which is really nice. So yeah, I suppose if anyone would like to find Moya, I can link everything, including your website and your Instagram. Where are you based? Can you just remind me?
Thorpe Bay, Essex.
That's right.
So second last stop on the C2C train. So for many people between London and here even, it's very accessible.
Yeah, lovely.
And yeah,
Great.
thank you. Oh, it's been lovely.
It's been really lovely. And as always, if anyone's listening, you're not alone in this. Healing is possible and you're allowed to do it your own way. If that is talking therapies or spiritual, you can do both, and meditation. So yeah, thank you, Moya, so much. It's been such a pleasure speaking to you, and we'll definitely stay in touch. And yeah, thank you ever so much. It's been lovely.